Hello turtles! Today on Outside Game Dev we're going to be taking a hike and talking about, is prototyping your indie game worth the risk? Today we're going to be going up the south trail of Haystack Mountain. I have never hiked this trail and so far it looks to be a bit of a off-road road. They do not allow ATVs or such on it, but it seems to be some private land that people allow you to hike on. And so I'm thankful for that. No fires, no camping, no ATVs or such, but it's currently a little off-road thing. Why does the development cycle even have a stage to prototype your game? Like, what is the purpose of prototyping your game in the first place? And the answer is to reduce your risk of the entire project. Make sure you can find the fun, make sure you can identify what is going to be taking your time, or see if you can solve any of the problems that might seem impossible. If you have a problem that's going to be difficult, tackle that first. See if you can find a solution. If you can't, maybe you'll have to design around it. Maybe it doesn't work for the project, or maybe you can't even find the fun of the idea in the first place, which is a very real possibility. Sometimes the ideas in our head seem a lot more fun than they wind up when we actually create a virtual world to contain them. Sometimes it's just they need a little bit more tuning, but it can also be that even with plenty of tuning, you just can't nail that fun element that you have in your head. So that's kind of why there's the prototype. It's trying to answer the questions: what is the risk of this project? How do I mitigate that? How do I ensure I'm going to be able to ship this on time, or even ship it at all? What are the risks for your project? Every project is different, and therefore your risks are going to be different for every project. You might be trying something that you've never tried before, and so that is probably a little bit more risky than doing things that you've done over and over again, right? Like, you can't really estimate how long it's going to take you, or even know that the solution you have in your head is actually going to perform as well as you want. So what you want to do is tackle the biggest and scariest things as fast as you can. Fail as fast as you possibly can. Find all of the bits in your project that would be a go, no-go situation and tackle those. Ensure that they are good to go. You're also looking for the fun of your game. You're looking to create the core activity the player will be doing in your game and seeing if you can nail the fun. So in a platformer, the player's often jumping from platform to platform, and if that jumping action is not fun, even with just some boxes, then it's not going to be fun when you add better graphics and better effects. Like, adding polish doesn't really create fun. It can enhance fun that's already there, but it's not going to make a crappy game better. Basically, just try aiming at all the unknowns of your project, or the things you think you know, but you're still unsure of. You're not confident, right? The objective of the prototype is to build up your confidence in your project and know that you're going to meet the deadlines you have set, as well as that you can actually finish what you're setting out to do. What about adding a save and loading system, or even a leaderboard, right? If you've never done a leaderboard before, what goes into that? Your prototyping needs to address these. You need to be able to answer that you can do a leaderboard. It doesn't need to look pretty. You don't need to, if you're confident that you can make something look pretty, skip that step and just answer the basic question: can you solve the problem ahead of you? Every project is going to have different risks. You need to look for the scariest things, or the things you have the least amount of confidence in, and tackle those. Find solutions. Let's keep on walking, and it looks like we've come to a trail intersection, so we're going to be heading up this. It looks still pretty thick for a hiking trail, but I'm going to guess it narrows down as we go. With your prototype, you're really trying to answer a few basic questions. The one we were just talking about is, what risks does your project have, and how are you going to mitigate those? And that basically just comes out with your plan and the solutions to the big problems of your project, right? Another question you're trying to answer is your core activity fun? With a platformer, you're typically jumping from platform to platform, and if that core activity is not fun, it's not going to be fun once you add the graphics and effects. Like, if you can't make it fun with just a couple blocks moving around, then you're going to have troubles making it fun once you add player animations and particle effects and sounds and squish and all the good stuff to juice it up. I mean, all that stuff is very important too, but if you don't have the fun right from the gate, it's not going to make the core activity fun. In a racing game, that core activity would be driving the car, right? So you need to identify what your core activity is and really nail that. Make sure it's good. Now, we're finally going up this mountain. This is how I remember it from the other side. It's gonna be steep. We're gonna be climbing. Well, we only just started going up, but it's time for a little bit of a break. Grab some water and continue this discussion. So we were talking a bit about the questions you need to ask yourself while prototyping your game, and one of them is basically, are you trying to create a game that's too big? The content that you're adding, can you do it all? Can you finish all the levels? How long does it take to add a level? How long does it take to add weapons? You need to know how long a full weapon will take. How many weapons is your game going to have? Is there enough time for all of that? You need to determine that you can create the whole game. Another question you might be asking yourself, especially if it's a new team, can your team work together? Can they communicate? Can they work efficiently? What are the workflows? What are the snags that are holding people up? Are people waiting for others? Find these pains early. It's actually a good thing about prototyping is the whole team needs to work together to create the prototype. You may be prototyping the visuals and trying to see if that's going to be risky for you, or you might be prototyping just the core mechanics, but you can kind of mix that in. You can get the whole team involved, throwing around ideas that might or might not work. Different people have different experiences, and you need to figure out how well the team works together. Sometimes they're going to work better than others. Maybe one of the team members is a little quiet and reserved, and you need to be able to figure out what makes them communicate the best. How can they share their ideas too? Especially if they have problems with certain aspects of the team, like maybe they're not good at the task that they're given and they don't know how to communicate that well. Okay, that's enough sitting around. Let's get back to the trail and start our climb up these switchbacks. It's steep. The whole team dynamics get tested during a prototype, and that's actually a good thing. You want to have confidence the team can do the project you're putting forth, and prototyping allows you to kind of test that if it's a new team. Maybe you already have the confidence in your team, and in that case you don't have to worry about this. But if you're just getting a whole bunch of randoms from the internet, maybe you want to test them in a prototype or a game jam situation before you try jumping into a 6-month project. That brings us back to the question this video is trying to answer. Is prototyping your game worth the risk? What is the risk of prototyping your game? Did you figure that out yet? It takes time, right? And when you're doing games as a business, time is money. Well, turtles, we made it to the view. It is a little bit down this rocky path, but boy, is it worth it. Check this out. Look at that view. Yeah, crackers, pepperoni, and cheese. What a view. If you're confident that you know all the risks of your project, and you know all this, like you have solutions to solve them, you know you can complete it in time, you know your team works together well, you can add all the content you wish, and you have good workflow, you have the core activity is really fun, and all of that has been solved already, then there is no point in prototyping. It's just going to cost you time, and time is money, so don't do it if you're confident in all the above. If you're confident you've eliminated the risks, you're good. However, prototyping is also fun, and you might want to take a break from a long-term project and just throw an idea down. Throw it in a game jam and just like play with it. See if it's a good idea or not. You can always throw that into a bin and have a confident core idea in the future for another project, right? Take a game jam. It gives you some good early user feedback, which is great for a prototype. If you can get some feedback in a game jam from other people, yeah, they're developers, but some of them will have good insight on how your game feels or what could be improved. This is actually how I pivoted over to Accelerate back in 2020 for Ludum Dare 46. Originally, I was going to spend that April to develop some tools for the asset store and sell them to developers, kind of like I did with Shadow Ghost Pro. Anyway, I was just working on the Ludum Dare 46 Game Jam, taking a break, learning, exploring Unity, and the early user feedback gave me incredible vibes. Like, I got 12th for fun, that was the rating, and so many comments. It was kind of overwhelming. And it really showed that I was onto something with that idea, and the core concept was a really good thing. It was fun to play, it was challenging, but that was kind of where the entertainment was coming from. And so I leaned into it and eventually made Accelerate a project. But it was a good game, and it had a lot of good core fun. And that was found just by taking a little bit of a break, doing a game jam, and exploring an idea. Is there a point in which it's too late to be prototyping for your game? I'd say yeah, that should be done at the beginning of the game just to answer the questions, mitigate your risk, but also know that when you're prototyping late in the game, this is a sign of feature creep, and it's something that can really hold up your project, which we talked about how it can destroy your project, how the signs to watch out for, and how to avoid it. Well, Turtles, that's another episode of Outside Game Dev. Make a comment below if you enjoy this episode or have a question for a future one. You should now know the objectives of prototyping your game is to mitigate the risks, have some solutions to the problems you might face during the development, know that your team works well together, and that you can create all the content that you wish for your game. That way you don't run into any problems while developing. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with other developers, and until later, Turtles, have a good one. Enjoy.